While waiting for Sandra and Clara to arrive, I desperately tried to call my parents. I had no idea what to tell them, and I just now realized I was probably an idiot for not involving them sooner. But on the other hand, this whole situation got out of hand pretty quickly. I knew my dad had a 12-hour shift today, which meant he wouldn't be home for hours, and that he likely wouldn't pick up my phone. So I tried to call my mom. Nothing. Before I could panic too much, I remembered that she was going to meet some friends after work. Well, Leah, I thought, your timing is really excellent. I heard a key turning in the lock, and then Clara and Sandra burst in the house. "We need salt," Sandra exclaimed before running into the kitchen. Clara was holding a baseball bat and looked at me with seriousness. "Do you really want to go to that house? It's exactly what she wants." "I know," I sighed, "but we need answers." "Well, don't just give in. Text her and tell her that you're not going there no matter what. Get her talking." Sandra joined us, holding a salt package. "Yeah, that's a good idea. See what she has to say about that." I nodded, took out my phone, and sent a short message to Leah. "I'm not going there. Tell me right now what the hell is going on." "Maybe we should call the police," Clara suggested. "And what would we tell them?" Sandra frowned. "I don't know. Anything? The point is, if something happens, they will be there." Before anyone could say anything more to this, my phone buzzed. A few seconds later, so did Sandra's. It was Leah messaging us again. "Whatever, Jim. I'm going back one way or the other." And almost immediately, I received a new message. "Are you really going to let me disappear again and do nothing about it?" I froze. Sandra, who just read her own message, blanched. "Leah!" she screamed, then suddenly burst out of my house. "Sandra!" I shouted, and Clara and I ran after her. Unfortunately, she was faster than us, and we couldn't catch and stop her. Of course, we knew where she was going. The house. It was getting dark at this point. The moon was already visible in the sky. I noticed it was a full moon, but didn't really have time to think about that. And the house looked sinister. Or maybe that was just my imagination. The front door was wide open when we arrived. I knew it was foolish to go in there, but I couldn't leave Sandra alone with Leah. I entered the house with Clara in tow. Sandra was standing in the corridor. "Jesus, Sandra!" Clara panted after the long run. "What's gotten into you?" Sandra looked at us, and I saw tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry. It's just... the message." She was shaking. "Well, whatever." Clara waved her arm. "We're here now. I guess this is it, then." I was about to ask her to go home, tell her that I didn't want her to get involved in this. But before I could say anything, Sandra suddenly frowned and made a few hesitant steps towards one of the rooms. "Can you hear it?" "Hear what?" She made a few more steps. "I don't know. There's some weird sound." We followed her to one of the rooms. The house was almost empty except for a few pieces of furniture left behind. In the middle of the room, there was a huge carpet, which has been pushed aside, revealing a trap door. "Aha!" Sandra exclaimed. "When I was here with Leah, the carpet was in its place and we had no idea there was a trap door. But if Leah removed the carpet, then police would have discovered whatever it is down there, wouldn't they?" I frowned. We all approached the trap door with caution, as if we were afraid it would transform into a monster and attack us. And yes, now I could also hear something. A faint sound. Buzzing. No, I corrected myself after a few seconds. Whispering. I was a lot more courageous all of a sudden. I only had to go down there and find Leah. She would tell me what's going on. It's all going to be fine. Looking back at it, it's so obvious that something was slowly starting to influence us. But at that moment, I really didn't analyze my thoughts. Okay, we can't stand here looking at the door until the end of time, I said and opened it. We climbed down the stairs and found ourselves in a large, empty basement. For a few seconds we stood there, confused. Was that it? Wasn't there anything more? There must be something else, Sandra said. I'm thinking... I watched as she walked around, then suddenly pressed against the wall. I heard a noise and turned around. The opposite wall suddenly opened up to reveal a secret passage. We looked at each other. Alright, let's go, I said. I was the first one to enter the narrow corridor, with Sandra and Clara right behind me. The whispering was louder now, but I didn't really care about it. I only had to find Leah, and then everything would be alright. The passage suddenly widened, and we stood in a small chamber. I gasped. The place looked like some occult shrine. Strange symbols on the wall, statues. But I didn't look around much, because my attention was immediately drawn to the middle of the room. There was a portal. It looked like a black panel and seemed as if a thick black smoke was rising from it. Leah was standing in front of it and turned around when she heard us. She smiled. Not that creepy smile I'd been seeing for so long. She seemed truly happy. And yet, her eyes, they were still somehow wrong. I struggled to think. It was harder with every second. Jim, Sandra, so you've come. And you brought Clara as well. Wonderful. My gaze was drawn back to the portal. 1 second, it almost seemed full of strange colors. Then I blinked, and it was black again. Leah, what's going on? I'm going to show you, she said, the smile still on her lips. She looked elated. You just need to go through that portal with me. You won't believe what's on the other side. What is there? I looked at the portal again. It wasn't black anymore. No, it was definitely never black. It was vibrant and colorful. It looked beautiful. I can't tell you, Jim. It's impossible to describe. You wouldn't understand if I just told you. You need to step inside to feel it. She reached out her arm. Come, let me show you. She looked at Sandra and Clara, who were standing behind me. Sandra has to come too. She gave her friend a bright smile. You won't leave me again, Sandra, will you? You will go in with me. You need to see this. So does Clara. You will go there with Jim, right? You two will be there together forever, if you do it. Yes. Clara sounded slightly dazed. I'll go with Jim. I wanted to take Leah's hand, to see what she was talking about, to step inside that colorful, beautiful world. But no, there was something strange about it. You said you would tell me who Christopher is, I said. Leah's face fell. Oh, Christopher. He won't be happy about this. But I need to go back. And I want you there with me. Then her face lit up again. But I can take you to him. And maybe he's changed his mind already. Maybe he finally sees. She took a step towards me. Come with me. You need to see that. I struggled. I wanted to step into that portal, to see whatever was on the other side, to finally understand everything. But at the same time, some part of me was screaming at me that this was wrong, dangerous, that no matter what, I must never step inside. Sandra and Clara seemed to experience something similar, but I didn't pay them much attention. I was focusing on my own inner battle. It couldn't have been more than a few seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. And then, suddenly, a movement from behind Leah caught my attention. There was something emerging from that portal. At first, it was just a leg, and then an arm, and a torso followed. And suddenly, a human figure was standing behind Leah. They didn't make any noise whatsoever, and Leah didn't notice them until they hit her on the head. She dropped to the ground, and the person looked at us. We need to get away from here. I recognized him. Of course I recognized him. Even though he's been missing for 15 years, he didn't look much older than he did at the photo Robert Spaulding showed us. Christopher Dolliard? I managed to say. I couldn't decipher the look he gave me at that. He picked my sister up as if she weighed nothing. Come on, move! We can't stay here! He was carrying Leah on his shoulder and holding her with one arm. With his other arm, he grabbed mine and yanked. Let's go! One part of me didn't want to move, but Dolliard was pushing me back towards the corridor we came from. You two! He shouted at Sandra and Clara. Come on, you don't want to get into that portal. What was he talking about? I wanted to step inside, see what was there. But Christopher had Leah, and I couldn't leave Leah alone. And he was pushing me back to the basement. Clara and Sandra followed us, and suddenly I could think way more clearly, and I jumped and shook Dolliard's arm off. What the hell? I yelled. Sandra and Clara looked shocked as well. What just happened? Come on, Dolliard waved. There's a lot I have to explain, but we need to get away from the gate, or it'll start influencing you again. But now I could think clearly, and this was Dolliard, standing in front of us, with my unconscious sister bent over his shoulder, and I had no idea what was going on. Wait, I said, stopping him. What the hell do you want from us? Right now, I want to save you. You can thank me later. I'll tell you what you need to know, but we really need to get out. He climbed up the stairs, and we reluctantly followed him. I had no idea what was going on, but he led us away from the gate instead of forcing us to go in. And that had to mean something, right? I expected him to exit the house, but instead, he went to one of the rooms on the second floor and put Leah down on the ground. Christ, I'm exhausted, he exclaimed before sitting down. What have you done to Leah? I asked. She still wasn't moving, and her eyes were closed. I just knocked her out. I'm sorry about that, but it seemed like the best option. She would never go willingly, he sighed. I hoped she'd be okay after I sent her back, but I should have known better. You sent her back? I was incredulous. I did. I've been trapped in there for such a long time, together with Matthew. I wanted to escape, but I'm afraid I've been there for too long. Time works so differently there. You think you've been there for an eternity, but at the same time, it also feels like just a few seconds have passed. What do you mean? Where exactly? Where does that portal lead? To a place you definitely don't want to be at, he said. It's difficult to describe. It's so different from our world. But it's wrong, dangerous. He shook his head. Being in that place, it's constant agony, a torture. But it's difficult to describe the sensation so you'd understand. After a time, it gets to you. It's like a drug. The place corrupts you. You begin to think that you belong there, that arriving there was the best thing that could have happened to you, and you don't want to leave. He looked at me. I was prepared for this. Matthew was prepared for this. And the place is still getting to us. It already has him. I've mostly been able to resist so far, but I feel it's slowly changing me. I can't leave it permanently. I can't even bring myself to go too far from the gate. His gaze went to Leah. Leah didn't stand a chance. The place got to her quickly. So she wanted to come back there, I asked. At the same time, Clara said, but why did she want to take us with her? He looked at both of us. Like I said, that place corrupted her. A part of her now belongs there. And that place, whatever it is exactly, it wants more. It wants people to come in. I don't know why. There's still so much I don't know about that realm. I believe that the corrupted part of Leah wants to serve, to bring people in. How did she even become trapped in the first place? Sandra asked. I am unsure. The gate closed behind Matthew and me when we came into that place. But as I am sure you've noticed, the portal can influence people, even if it's closed, through a very minor way. Leah seems to be extremely susceptible to these things, and if she was in the house alone, it wouldn't have been that hard to sway her. If she found the trapdoor to the basement, she could have been influenced long enough for her to discover the secret passage and reopen the portal. How would she even know how to reopen it? How did the three of you know how to open the secret passage? The gate just tells you how to do it. And who opened the gate in the first place? Was it you? He nodded. Matthew's Aunt Marcia and I, we were trying to open it for many years. Marcia knew that her nephews, Matthew and Robert, had some natural talent for these things. Robert, unfortunately, didn't believe in any of this, but Matthew joined us. Our first attempt was unsuccessful, and Marcia died while opening the gate. And the second attempt... He was silent for a few seconds, then continued. Once the gate has been established, opening it is easier. I think now that during our first attempt, we already established a gate somehow, but it was, for the lack of a better word, broken. When it was opened, Matthew went in first, and the gate immediately closed behind him. That wasn't supposed to happen. We thought that both of us would enter, explore the realm, and then come back. I tried to get that gate reopened immediately. I managed to do that, and Matthew came back. But no matter what we tried, we couldn't close the gate. As it was open, it started to influence us more and more. Matthew insisted we can't go back, but eventually he succumbed. I tried to stop him, but he went back, and I foolishly jumped after him before the gate closed. I thought I would be able to open the gate from there, but while it's possible, it's extremely difficult. Plus, it works differently from the other side. When Leah came, I've already attempted multiple times, but have been unsuccessful. When I finally managed to open it, I managed to send Leah out, even though she protested. But like I said, I've already been influenced by that place. Before I could bring myself to exit, the gate closed again. I hoped at least Leah would be safe, but as it appears, it was too late. He sighed and got up. Now listen, I told you everything you need to know. Now you need to get out. Don't ever come into this house again. If it's possible for you, don't let anyone ever come to this house. It's too dangerous. Send Leah away if you can, so she won't be tempted to get back again. She still has a chance to break free, but first, she needs to be as far from this as possible. And what about you? I asked. What do you think? I'm going back. What? But you got away. Sandra looked like she couldn't believe her ears. Listen, from what I know, this gate can be closed only in two ways. Either by somebody going through it, or by a very long ritual, which we don't have time for. If we attempt it, the gate will have enough time to start influencing us again. It's my theory that it's somehow stronger when it's a full moon, which is probably why Leah waited until now to open it. She needed the gate's influence to help her sway all of you. If you hesitated long enough after somebody already stepped through, the gate would close. How would she know about that? I'm afraid I told her. When she came, before she was corrupted, she really wanted to get back. I shared my knowledge with her, which was probably a mistake. He eyed us. You know everything you need to know. Now go. Are you sure there isn't any other way? Sandra asked. I'm sure. And like I said, even if there was, I've been in there too long. I have to return. This is the easiest way to get it over with. Besides, his tone suddenly slightly changed. I can't leave Matthew in there alone. And so we went. Clara and I picked up Leah, and we slowly went to the front door. Nobody spoke. I still felt shaken. As we were getting closer to the trap door, I felt whispering again. Suddenly, I felt horrible. I couldn't leave Christopher in there alone. I could go with him. Surely we could think of something. We could return him permanently back. We could... Christopher grabbed my arm and pushed me out the front door. He did the same with Clara and Sandra. Go, he said, before closing the door in our faces. So, I guess this is the end. I still feel shocked and kind of numb. And terrible for Christopher, even though, as Clara pointed out, he was the one who opened that gate in the first place. Leah is... well, she isn't okay. After she came to and learned that her plan failed, and we know everything, she just kind of broke down. It was ugly. We still don't know what's going to happen with her, because she just completely shut off. She doesn't even speak. She's going to be committed to a mental facility for some time. And while I feel horrible because of it, I'm also kind of glad, because that means she'll be far from the house. Maybe she'll be normal again someday. Clara, Sandra, and I are just recuperating for now. Nobody knows what exactly happened that day, and we don't know if we should tell anyone. Would somebody even believe us? Thank you all for your comments and advice, and for staying with me through this all. I'm not sure how to end this post, but I hope you are okay. I hope someday we will be okay again as well. Thank you, spooks and spookettes, for joining me for this reading. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would really appreciate a like on this video. If you think you have a story for me to read, I will leave links below where you can send it. Also, look forward to reading any comments left down below. If you'd like to join me for more, there's always a subscribe and notification buttons that would really make my day. If you're not ready to subscribe just yet, I hope you will check out my other videos. Thanks again, and wishing you a sweet night.